Hi there, this is Ruth Royal from Youth Pledge for Employers, and we're delighted today to be talking to Ben Connell, who's grounds manager at Ipswich Town Football Club. Hi Ben, thank you so much for giving up your time.
Hi Ruth, no problem at all.
So Ben, tell us a bit about what grounds management looks like at Ipswich Town Football Club.
Okay, so I'll start at the end. We have to produce the best pitches that we possibly can with our time and resources that we have. Expectations are very high, and the aim nowadays really is, if you remember the old pitches years and years ago used to be absolute mud heaps during the winter. That's not acceptable anymore. We have to put everything that we can into keeping it as much grass coverage as we can, keeping it as green as we can, making it playable as we can, so we've got good traction there. You've got correct and even ball bounce, footing for the players as well. So it's all those things that to make the pitch perform well and allow the players to perform to their best abilities as well.
That's so interesting, because I'd never thought about the fact that obviously the ground's got to be that it's almost sort of scientific in terms of thinking about like the ball bounce and keeping the play moving forward in probably a way that's predictable for the people on the pitch.
Yeah, so before a game we'll do testing on the pitch. We'll keep an eye on moisture content. So we've got our parameters that we're aiming between. We'll test how hard the pitch is. We'll test traction, we'll test grass coverage, and we keep all that data and all that information, and that helps us to monitor how well we're doing as well. And once we've got that built up over the years, you can then go back and look at last year and go, oh, where were we last year with grass coverage? Where were we, going into this part of the season? Obviously weather has a big impact on us, and there's certain things that we can't influence on that side, but we've got certain tools in our armory that we can then manage drainage rates to a certain extent. We can manage with the lights on the stadium pitch, keeping grass coverage alive. It also helps dry the pitch out during the wetter times. We're putting products on the pitches that will help move the water through the soil as well. And we just have to time it so we're putting the right amount on at the right time.
So really scientific, actually, about how you approach it.
A lot of people don't realise. They think that we're cutting and marking, and that's the end bit. That's a bit like, I always describe it as painting a picture. But putting the patterns in and marking the white lines is purely putting that picture in a frame. That's all we're doing. So all the bits behind the scenes, the bits underneath the pitch, underneath the turf that we're managing is mainly we're managing what's underneath the turf, and the turf and the presentation is the end result of it all.
That's a great image and really helpful to understand sort of how that works. And so I know that you've got about sort of 10 members of the team. Tell us a bit about what the different job roles are in the grounds management team.
So at Ipswich, we have the 10 members, and that will cover Portman Road and Stadium Pitch, and also the training ground. At the training ground, we've got academy through to the first team. So we've got about 9.5 pitches at the training ground. And we have to, provide pitches from under 8 through to the first team. Be different times of day. So during the day, you tend to get the under 18s, under 23s first team at the training ground. So typically we'd be out getting pitches ready for them in the mornings. So we would go out and cut and mark in preparation for that. And then in the afternoon or whenever they're finished, we'll tidy the pitches up afterwards, whether that be a bit of divoting. It might be some brushing of the pitches to clean any debris up that's been created during the game. It might be mowing the pitch again, and also doing our maintenance work like the aeration on there. So we'll have an aerator on the back of a tractor, which will have spikes go into the ground to relieve the compaction that's been created both by the players' feet and also by our machinery going over there. So we manage the firmness of the pitches. We'll then be doing our sprays and putting on wetting agents to either push water through the pitch or to hold on to it in the pitch, put nutrients down in sprays, granular fertilizing, which we'll do every 3 to 4 weeks anyway. The sprays tend to go down every fortnight on a pitch. So there's always a pitch that we're working on that we're managing one way or another with either health or nutrition or moisture or recovering or preparing for play. So there's loads of things going on all at the same time, and it's just getting ourselves organised and in order so that we can then produce that pitch and offer it to the training group as and when they need it. So there's loads going on behind the scenes, more than people realise.
Oh my God, absolutely. So in those sort of 10 different positions, what do how does the work split out? Who does what? What sort of
Okay.
skills do they need?
Okay, so we tend to have 1.5 people down at the stadium, and then I'll also supplement that as and when necessary as well. So someone's based at the stadium all the time. That pitch will be cut every morning, and then we'll do tidying up bits around the outside, making sure that the surrounds are tidy. That was, of course, we've got the water going on when it needs to. The nutrition's being made to the pitch, whether say that's a granular or a liquid spray onto the pitch. So that's one person's job fully taken up. The person supplementing that may well be helping doing some divoting afterwards. We tend not to get too many big chunks come out of the pitch nowadays because of the standard of the pitches. Tends not to happen too much. It's more scuffs and scars and heel marks and bits and pieces that we're lifting out. So that's sort of the stadium tied up. Training ground in the mornings, we'll go out and cut. Probably 2 people on mowers. You might have someone following behind with a line marker so that it's all nicely freshly marked afterwards. Because what we don't want to do is to mark it first. One is you might cut the line out, or you might move those lines around. So when you put a mower over a pitch, it will move the grass around because of the rollers. So if you've marked a nice straight line the afternoon before, and then you go and cut it in the morning, they may well just move a little bit because you're moving the grass around that's got the white line on there. We want the pitches to go in looking as good as we can straight into a training session. So that's typically what we'll be doing in the morning. Then the players will come out and we'll do some watering for them. So we'll put the hoses over all the pop-up sprinklers. We'll use the controller to pop them up to where they're training, make sure they've got the right goals in the right field for a training session, which we'll get told beforehand. Get the training session through. We'll stand there and water for them as and when they need, as they move around the pitch. Because typically a training session won't happen on one full-size pitch. It will happen on small areas around the pitch. And as they move around the pitch, or the pitchers, we'll then follow 10 minutes ahead of them with irrigation, the watering of the pitch, so that the ball moves nicely. Because professional footballers expect the ball to zip off the surface and not get stuck in it and what we call tennis ball bounce rather than skid through. So we're there to make sure the pitch is performing how it needs to. And it gives us an opportunity as well to observe how the pitch is playing. We can see if people are getting good traction in the pitch. You can get too much traction. You can get not enough traction. And it's all related to injuries as well. With that, if we can offer the pitch within the parameters that we're trying to hit the pitch with, in a sense that it's not too hard, it's not too soft. A player, if the pitch is too soft, there's a player who may not be able to hit it their top speed because of the drag that they would get with feet and such, or if it's too hard, you can pick up injuries. So they're all the things that we speak to the physio teams over that as well, and try and get feedback. How did the pitch play? And something like that, and then we can understand and learn from it, and then we can monitor what percentage of moisture we have found that we need to get into the pitch before a training session, and that helps us learn how hard the pitch needs to be with the amount of rolls that we do, and we can alter that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
With your entry level positions, because I know you have a couple of apprentices at the moment, what sort of apprenticeships are they doing? Are there is that the main route in to your sort of role?
It certainly helps. With the role that it is, it's very much learning on the job. They will do a level 2 in turf management qualification throughout the apprenticeships. The apprenticeships run for 18 months to 2 years. And within that time, they'll do a level 2 in sports turf management, teamed up with the local college. They will have a tutor come on site to us and get the paperwork, bits and pieces done. There'll be set tasks to do, which all of those they'll learn throughout working with us. We help everyone through. They'll be trained up on the machinery, on how irrigation works, how the draining systems work. So they'll get the practical experience from it, as well as the theory behind it from the college course as well.
Sorry, go on.
Well, as to say, we've got 2 apprentices right now, and we've had a very high success rate of being able to feed apprentices into a full-time position with us. If we spent 18 months, 2 years in training someone specifically in what we do, then they're an ideal candidate to take on, to be fair, once we're going forward. So, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. That succession planning for you, like as an organisation as well. With the people that you recruit into those apprenticeship positions, what are you looking for, Ben, from those people that you recruit?
Initially, it's very difficult to get an apprentice we get a lot of people apply, and we speak to as many of them as we can, whether it's on the telephone or whether it's a walk around the training ground, because we're not expecting to have any experience. We're not expecting to have any prior qualifications. In fact, if they have got qualifications already, perhaps they're not the right person, that we're looking for to come into the team. We're looking for someone who has a can-do attitude, is willing to work out in all weathers, willing to work hard, just get their head down and work in a team. We're a big team environment here. We all have to work really closely together as a grounds team to be able to meet our objectives that were set. So big thing for us is teamwork. Someone who's willing to work as a team. It's not going to be selfish. It's not about one person. It's about the whole group. And if I can pick that up in an interview, that's really going to help the candidate. Just be positive. That's it. Ask questions. Be interested. We just want people to really show an interest and a real passion for being part of what we're doing.
Oh, that's brilliant. And that's so interesting to sort of hear that you're looking for essentially that sort of passion and positivity and that interest in terms of what's coming through. So I guess in terms of like the roles that you've described, probably follow very much the pattern of the days that you've talked about. Is there anything extra as sort of people progress through the job, like to you to be like a grounds manager? Are there sort of additional things that you have to do? I'm guessing if you're sort of tracking data and things like that, is there other stuff that you have to do?
Yeah. What I would have to do is I spend half the time doing office work, preparing, planning. A lot of it is solving problems, arranging if we get a breakdown, arranging the breakdowns fixed or an alternative if that happens, making sure that the right products arrive at the right time that we need them for the pitches, making sure that we've got the right staffing, like staffing levels, that we've got the right people working at the weekends, managing days off. Things like this. It's managing the team, as a lot of people would do across every other department within the club and in a general workplace. It's just I need to make sure that everything flows and everything happens when it needs to happen, whatever it takes. That's what's got to happen. That's to say, it's the same for many people, but essentially that's what my job is make sure that we've got the skilled enough staff as well, that they're trained in. I'm not asking them to go and do something that they haven't actually been trained in or are not qualified to do. Making sure we've got enough skilled staff on site to be able to accomplish all these bits and pieces to us to be able to deliver the pitches that we do.
So how did you get into sort of your career? How did you get into that?
Okay, I love sport. I like any sort of sport. I played a lot of cricket when I was younger, and even as an adult. And I wanted to somehow work outdoors, work in sport. And I took an interest in the sports turf, and I ended up doing a horticulture course when I left school, which led on to a sports turf course because they weren't actually running one that year. So I did a hort one, which included the sports turf. Unfortunately, it was only for about 3 weeks of the whole year, but we got that done. And then I moved on to the sports turf one. I had a placement at Felixstowe Lawn Tennis Club for a year when I was 16, 17. And as it worked out, the head groundsman was retiring, and there was only 2 of us there. But he was retiring, and I left for about 3 weeks, and then I was asked to come back. And did I want to have the job, which I then took on. And so at 18 years old, I was sort of head groundsman with one summer help, and my summer help was someone who's in their 60s. So it was a steep learning curve for me as an 18-year-old. Suddenly to have to manage time, manage the products, manage the schedule with me, and then a part-timer. And learning people management as well is a really tough one, because everyone's so different that all your employees will be different, and they'll need to be managed in a different way, and they'll all have different attributes, and it's trying to get the best out of them as well. So that was a steep learning curve for me, and I moved on to gain more experience because I thought I want to be a head groundsman at a school, work in cricket and bits, and that was my aim. So I moved from Felixstowe Lawn Tennis Club to Suffolk Coastal Council to work at the sports clubs in Felixstowe to gain a wider sports range. So I was doing rugby, football, cricket, tennis, where previously I'd only done tennis really, although I haven't been interested in cricket. They're managing sports turf is we're doing the same thing, sports, but slightly differently. We've got different soils to manage and how they react with the grass plant differently. So cricket and say golf would be, we're both managing a grass plant, but it's done very differently. So it's just learning those different ways. And when I was 27, I got the head groundsman job at St Joseph's College. I spent 4 years there before I was asked if I wanted to come for an interview at Ipswich Town. And you don't say no if you get an opportunity like that. Even though I absolutely loved my job at St Joe's, I was to go there as a kid. So to be able to get to work there was great, and I'd got my son lined up to go to school there with the school fees being reduced as well. It was all lined up perfectly. But once you get an opportunity at Ipswich Town, such a massive club, and with the history that we've got, and you know, I couldn't say no. And I thought, well, let's give it a go. And I'm still here. I'm now in my 12th season. So,
Oh, wow, that's phenomenal. And just really thought-provoking about the fact that if you probably are looking to go into this sort of type of work, the opportunities like to follow sort of like a passion for sport that are not necessarily directly involved in playing that sport give you like a breadth of opportunities as well. I mean, you've touched on rugby, tennis, football, golf, cricket, schools, sports clubs, all those people needing that sort of ground maintenance, and interestingly doing a similar job but looking for different things from their grasp, because obviously you probably all those different sports require that to be used in a different way and for it to have different properties. So it's really, I've just never thought that. That's absolutely fascinating. Just finally, Ben, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice about careers, what would that be?
Probably two things that I wish that I'd have perhaps got onto earlier was to qualifications. Now I'm in my early 40s and I've just finished doing my foundation degree. I sometimes wish I'd have done it before I had a wife and children and such. Get the education done. I've drip fed through the education and kept going, but I feel like I should have done more when I was younger, because you've got a lot more time in your hands and you don't realise how much time you have when you're younger until you haven't got it when you're older. So get the education done, talk to people, and I would like to have gone and got perhaps more experiences at gone and volunteered at places, perhaps volunteered at county cricket ground, volunteered at various football clubs and such, to gain more of a wider experience. And it's very much knowing people opens doors, opportunities, and the more that you can do that when you're younger, put yourself out there, just go and volunteer, because that can open a door for you. I think that's really important, and it can get your career moving quite quickly if they're impressed with you.
Absolutely. So with sort of the message to young people who are interested in this is, wherever you go with a can-do attitude, an interest in wherever it is that you're applying to, a willingness to learn. You're going to want to work outdoors in absolutely all weathers. You'll always be working as part of a team. You need to have that positive approach, asking lots of questions, but also a love of like a sport or whatever it is that you're looking to go into is really helpful. And try and get some volunteering experience as well, because that will only enrich your
you will
application.
never stop learning, and whether that's through a practical sense or through books, keep reading, keep going out and doing it, because we never know enough. We can always be better at what we're doing. And that will go through, and hopefully myself and my team that will continue to do both formal qualifications and our own learning within our jobs right until we retire, because no one knows it all. Absolutely. And we're all learning.
That's a brilliant message to end on. Ben, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.